Commander Thexani had been staring at the same boring sensor readings for 3 hours when everything changed. The Kepler Sector Monitoring Station was the galaxy's most useless assignment. Nothing ever happened here. The star systems in this region held only primitive species that had barely learned to fly between their own planets. Most of them still fought wars with chemical explosives and metal bullets. Thexani stretched his forearms and was about to take another sip of his bitter coffee when the alarm started screaming. "What now?" he muttered, looking at his screens. Probably another asteroid or some space junk. But what he saw made his coffee mug slip from his grasp and shatter on the floor. The hyperspace sensors were going crazy. Something massive was coming out of faster-than-light travel, and it was coming out right in front of their station. Thexani had never seen energy readings this high. Whatever was coming through hyperspace was bigger than anything in the galactic fleet. "All stations, red alert!" he shouted into his communicator. "Something big is coming through hyperspace." The space in front of the station began to twist and bend. Reality itself seemed to fold as something enormous pushed its way into normal space. First came a bright flash of blue light, then sparks of electricity that danced across empty space like lightning during a storm. Then the ship appeared. Thexani's mouth fell open. He had served in the Galactic Navy for 40 years. He had seen the mighty dreadnoughts of the core worlds, each one a masterpiece of engineering and art. He had watched the elegant cruisers of the Veltar Empire glide through space like giant swans. He had even seen the feared war pyramids of the Zefki Consortium built to strike terror into their enemies. This ship was nothing like any of them. The human vessel was a monster. It stretched 12 kilometers from front to back, longer than some space stations. But it was not beautiful. There was no elegant curves or artistic design. Instead, it looked like someone had taken a giant metal brick and covered it with weapons. The hull was rough gray metal, welded together in sheets that Thexani could see even from a distance. Pipes and cables ran along the outside of the ship like veins. Gun turrets stuck out from the hull like thorns on a dangerous plant. At the back of the ship, 3 massive engines glowed with a bright blue light that hurt to look at directly. "Sir," called out Operative Yelan from her station, "I'm reading the energy signature from those engines. It's impossible." "What do you mean impossible?" Thexani asked, still staring at the massive ship. "They're using a controlled star as a power source," Yelan said, her voice shaking. "The energy output is equal to our entire sector fleet." Thexani felt cold fear creep up his spine. A controlled star? That was theoretical technology. The greatest scientists in the galaxy said it was possible, but no one had ever built one. The engineering required was beyond even the most advanced species. "Sir, they're sending us a message," reported Communications Officer Bren. "Put it on the main screen," Thexani ordered. The screen flickered, and a face appeared. It was clearly alien, but not like any species in the galactic database. The being had pale skin, dark hair, and 2 eyes that seemed to look right through the screen. Its face was hard and determined, like a soldier who had seen too many battles. When it spoke, its voice was clear and strong. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Terran Defense Force commanding the battleship Indomitable. We come seeking our stolen children." Thexani stared at the face on the screen. Humans. He had heard of them, of course. They were one of the primitive species from this sector. According to the files, they had only recently learned to travel between planets. They were supposed to be harmless, barely able to build simple spacecraft. This ship was anything but simple. "Captain Chen," Thexani replied, trying to keep his voice steady. "I am Commander Thexani of the Galactic Council Monitoring Station 7. Your ship is impressive. We were not aware that your species had developed faster-than-light travel." Captain Chen's expression did not change. "We've developed many things recently. We need to speak with someone in authority about the raids on our colonies 50 years ago. We want our people back." "Raids?" Thexani felt confused. I'm not aware of any raids in this sector. Perhaps there has been some mistake. No mistake, Chen said coldly. The Zefki Consortium took 200,000 of our people from 7 colonies. We've been looking for them ever since. Now we've found where they went. Thexani's blood turned to ice. The Zefki Consortium was one of the most powerful members of the Galactic Council. They controlled trade routes across half the galaxy. If these humans were making accusations against them, it could mean war. But looking at the massive human battleship floating in space like a sleeping dragon, Thexani realized that war might have already started. Captain Chen, he said carefully, I will need to contact the Galactic Council about this matter. These are serious accusations. They're not accusations, Chen replied. They're facts. We have proof. We have recordings. We have DNA evidence. And we have the location of our stolen people. She leaned forward on the screen, and Thexani could see the anger burning in her eyes. Commander, your people have 3 choices. You can return our colonists safely and pay reparations for 50 years of slavery. You can try to negotiate some middle ground, though I don't recommend it, or you can fight us. Chen paused, and when she spoke again, her voice was like ice. I should mention that Indomitable is not alone. We have a fleet, a big one. And we've been planning this conversation for a very long time. The communication ended, leaving Thexani staring at a blank screen. Around him, his officers were checking their sensors and talking in quiet, worried voices. Sir, Yilan called out, I'm detecting more ships coming out of hyperspace, human ships. Thexani looked at his sensor display. One by one, new contacts were appearing around the Kepler system. They were smaller than the Indomitable, but each one still showed impossible energy readings. The humans had brought a fleet, just as their captain had said. How many? He asked. 37 so far, sir, and still counting. Thexani sat down heavily in his command chair. In 40 years of service, he had never felt so small and helpless. The humans had appeared from nowhere with technology that shouldn't exist and claims that could shake the very foundations of the Galactic Council. He reached for his communications console and opened a priority channel to the Council headquarters. This is Monitoring Station 7 requesting immediate contact with the High Council, he said. We have a first contact situation with potentially hostile implications. Species designation, human. Threat level. He paused, looking at the massive battleship on his screen and thinking about Captain Chen's cold, determined eyes. Threat level unknown. Recommend immediate council session. As he sent the message, Thexani couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change. The galaxy had been peaceful for centuries, with the strong protecting the weak and ancient laws keeping order. But the humans hadn't asked for protection. They had arrived with weapons and demands, ready to take what they believed was theirs. Looking at their impossible ship and thinking about their missing people, Thexani realized that maybe they had every right to be angry. The question was, what would the galaxy do about it? The emergency session of the Galactic Council was unlike anything in the organization's 3,000-year history. Representatives from hundreds of worlds sat in the great circular chamber, all talking at once about the humans who had appeared in the Kepler sector with impossible ships and dangerous demands. High Counselor Velshan called for order, his ancient voice echoing through the chamber. As leader of the council, he had guided the galaxy through wars, plagues, and political crises. But he had never dealt with anything like this. The human delegation will now present their case, he announced. Captain Chen walked into the center of the chamber, followed by 3 other humans. They wore simple dark blue uniforms with no decorations or fancy symbols. Compared to the elaborate robes and ceremonial armor worn by the galactic representatives, the humans looked plain and ordinary. But everyone in the chamber had seen the recordings from Monitoring Station 7. They all knew what kind of ship had brought these ordinary-looking beings to their capital world. "Honored Council," Chen began, her voice calm and clear. 50 years ago, ships belonging to the Zefki Consortium attacked 7 human colonies in the Outer Rim systems. They took 200,000 men, women, and children. According to your own laws, this was an act of piracy and slavery. Angry voices erupted from the Zefki section of the chamber. Consul Morgan, their chief representative, stood up with all 4 of his arms spread wide. "These accusations are ridiculous," he shouted. "Humans are a primitive species with no legal standing in galactic law. They had no claim to those worlds, and our actions were perfectly legal salvage operations." Chen turned to look at him, and the temperature in the chamber seemed to drop several degrees. "Salvage?" she asked quietly. "Is that what you call stealing? Children from their homes and forcing them into slavery?" "We gave those humans a better life," Morgan replied. "They were living in primitive conditions, fighting wars with chemical weapons. We integrated them into galactic civilization." "Without asking permission," Chen said. "Without giving them a choice. You took them from their families and erased their memories of home." High Counselor Vel Shan raised his hand for silence. "Captain Chen, while we sympathize with your situation, you must understand that 50 years ago, humanity was classified as a pre-contact species. Our laws prevent interference with civilizations that have not achieved galactic standard technology." Chen smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "About that classification, we'd like to request an update." She nodded to one of her companions, who activated a holographic projector. The air above the chamber floor filled with images that made the assembled representatives gasp in shock. The first image showed a planet completely covered in cities and industrial complexes. Massive orbital platforms surrounded the world like steel rings. Ships moved between the platforms in an endless stream of activity. "This is Earth today," Chen explained. "Population, 22 billion. We've built 12 orbital cities and terraformed 3 dead worlds in our system." The next image showed a fleet of human ships. They were all built like the Indomitable. Rough, functional, and bristling with weapons. But there were dozens of them, arranged in perfect formation around a massive structure that looked like a floating city. "This is Titan Shipyard, where we build our fleet. Current production rate, 1 battleship every 3 weeks. More images followed. Factories that stretched across entire continents. Research stations studying captured Zefki technology. Massive computers filled with data about every species and world in the galaxy. "You see," Chen continued, "your interference laws have an interesting side effect. Because you classified us as primitive, you never monitored our development. You had no idea what we were becoming." The last image showed a star map of human space. Red dots marked dozens of star systems, all connected by glowing lines that represented shipping routes and communication networks. "We now control 47 star systems," Chen said. "Our population is over 100 billion. Our technology level is, as you can see, quite advanced." Council member Lixara from the Science Guild spoke up nervously. "Captain Chen, our experts have analyzed the energy signatures from your ships. Some of your technology appears to violate basic laws of physics. How is this possible?" Chen's expression became grim. "When someone steals your children, you become very motivated to get them back. We call it the Great Awakening. Every nation on Earth united with one goal: find our people and bring them home." She gestured to her companions. "Dr. Martinez here developed our gravity manipulation technology by studying quantum mechanics for 30 years without stopping. Engineer Park created our faster-than-light drives by combining 17 different theoretical approaches that your scientists said couldn't work together. And Admiral Torres," Chen pointed to a stern-faced woman with gray hair, "designed our weapons systems using principles that we borrowed from studying black holes." Dr. Martinez stepped forward. "We had advantages your species don't. Humans are very good at taking things apart to see how they work. We're also excellent at making different technologies work together even when they shouldn't. But most importantly," Admiral Torres added, "we're really angry about what happened to our people." Consul Morgan laughed dismissively. Even if your claims are true, you're still just one species. The Zefki Consortium has allies throughout the galaxy. You cannot threaten us. Chen turned to face him directly. Consul, 3 days ago, our survey ships completed a full tactical analysis of every major system in the galaxy. We know the location of every military base, every weapons factory, and every government center within 500 light-years of Earth. She paused to let that sink in. Our ships have been watching you for months. We know your patrol schedules, your response times, and your weapons capabilities. We know which of your allies will actually fight and which ones will run when things get dangerous. You're bluffing, Morgan said, but his voice was no longer confident. Chen smiled again, and this time it was even colder than before. Admiral Torres, please show the consul our surveillance data on his home system. The hologram changed to show detailed maps of the Zefki homeworld. Military installations were marked in red, with precise data about their weapons and defenses. Government buildings were outlined in blue, with information about who worked there and when they were most vulnerable. We know about the secret weapons facility on Morden's third moon, Torres said casually. We know about the slave camps on 7 different worlds, and we know exactly how many human prisoners you're holding in each one. The chamber erupted in shocked voices. Even species that were allied with the Zefki looked disturbed by the detailed intelligence the humans had gathered. High Counselor, Velshan called for order again. Captain Chen, what exactly do you want from this council? Chen's expression became deadly serious. We want our people back, all of them, healthy and unharmed. We want reparations for 50 years of forced labor, and we want the individuals responsible for the raids to face justice. And if the council refuses? Velshan asked. Chen looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of representatives from dozens of different species. When she spoke, her voice carried the weight of a species that had spent 50 years preparing for this moment. Then we'll take what's ours anyway. The only difference will be how many of your people die in the process. The chamber fell completely silent. In the space of one conversation, everything had changed. The humans were no longer the primitive species that needed protection. They had become something far more dangerous, a wounded civilization with advanced weapons and nothing left to lose. High Counselor Velshan realized that the age of galactic peace was over. The only question now was whether it would end with negotiation or with war. Looking at Captain Chen's determined face, he suspected he already knew the answer. Admiral Vestran had fought in 12 major wars during his 90-year military career. He had commanded fleets against space pirates, rebellious colonies, and territorial disputes between member species. He thought he understood warfare in all its forms. The humans were teaching him that he knew nothing at all. Report, he ordered as he entered the war room deep beneath the Galactic Defense Command Center. Colonel Yixta, his intelligence officer, looked up from a table covered with star charts and tactical displays. Her usual confidence was gone, replaced by something Vestran had never seen in her before. Fear. Sir, the human ships are everywhere, she said. They're not attacking, but they're mapping every system in the galaxy. Our patrol fleets can't keep up with them. Vestran studied the main display screen. Red dots marked confirmed human ship sightings across hundreds of star systems. They appeared for a few hours, scanned everything in the system, then vanished before any galactic forces could respond. How many ships are we talking about? He asked. At least 300, sir. Possibly more. They're using some kind of stealth technology that makes them almost impossible to detect until they want to be seen. Major Plick, the logistics coordinator, added his own bad news. Admiral, the economic impact is getting worse every day. Trade ships are refusing to leave port because they're afraid of running into human vessels. Shipping companies are demanding military escorts for even routine cargo runs. Vesitron nodded grimly. Fear was a weapon, and the humans were using it expertly. They hadn't fired a single shot, but they were already winning the war by making the galaxy afraid to function normally. What about their technology? He asked. Have our scientists figured out how their ships work? Dr. Thelek, the chief technology analyst, shook her head. Sir, it's like nothing we've ever seen. Their ships phase through our shields as if they weren't there. Their weapons ignore our defensive barriers, and their computer systems are completely alien. Alien how? They don't use quantum processing like every other species in the galaxy. Instead, they've built what they call emotion core artificial intelligence systems. The computers actually get stronger when they're under stress or threat. Vestran stared at her. That's impossible. Computers can't have emotions. Human computers can, sir. And there's more. They've somehow programmed their AIs to learn and adapt in real time during combat. The longer a battle goes on, the smarter their ships become. Colonel Yexta brought up a new display showing recent battle analysis. Sir, we've been studying their attack patterns from the surveillance data. They don't fight like any known military doctrine. The screen showed tactical movements that made no sense according to standard galactic warfare. Human ships would split apart in the middle of battle, regroup in impossible formations, and attack from directions that should have left them vulnerable. They call it chaos tactics, Yixta explained. Instead of following rigid battle plans, each human ship makes independent decisions based on the situation. It makes them completely unpredictable. But surely that leads to confusion and mistakes, Vestron said. No, sir. Their emotion core AIs coordinate everything instantly. It's like fighting an enemy that has one brain controlling hundreds of bodies. A new alarm started sounding, and Lieutenant Bexat rushed into the room carrying a datapad. Admiral, urgent news from the frontier systems. The humans have begun broadcasting something. What kind of broadcast? It's a message to their stolen people, sir. They're transmitting on every frequency and every language to every system in the galaxy. Vesitron felt his stomach sink. Show me. The main screen changed to show Captain Chen sitting in what appeared to be the bridge of her battleship. Behind her, other humans worked at control stations covered with displays and blinking lights. When she spoke, her voice was calm, but carried an undertone of absolute determination. This message is for the human colonists taken from the worlds of New Dakota, Terra Verde, Hope's Landing, Prosperity, New Geneva, Free Haven, and Liberty Station, Chen said. My name is Captain Sarah Chen of the Terran Defense Force. I want you to know that Earth never forgot you. We never stopped looking for you. The camera moved to show other people on the bridge. Men and women of different ages, all wearing the same simple blue uniforms. These are your brothers and sisters from Earth, Chen continued. Some of them are children of the families you left behind. Others are volunteers who spent their lives training to find you and bring you home. One of the younger officers stepped forward. My name is Lieutenant James Morrison, he said. My grandmother was Sarah Morrison from New Dakota Colony. Grandma never stopped talking about her sister Lisa, who was taken during the raid. Lisa, if you can hear this, Grandma lived to be 97 and never stopped believing we'd find you. More officers came forward, each one sharing a message for family members lost 50 years ago. Stories of grandparents who died still hoping, of children named after missing relatives, of families that never gave up hope. The beings who took you want to use you as bargaining chips, Chen said, taking over again. They think we'll accept some kind of compromise or partial return. They're wrong. Her expression hardened, and when she spoke again, her voice carried the authority of an entire species behind it. We're coming for all of you, every man, woman, and child, and we're going to bring you home. The broadcast ended, leaving the war room in complete silence. Dr. Thelek was the first to speak. Admiral, this changes everything. The humans aren't just fighting for territory or resources. This is personal for them. What do you mean? Vestran asked. Sir, We've been analyzing human psychology and culture from their broadcasts and communications. They have a concept they call family that goes beyond simple biological relationships. To humans, abandoning their stolen people would be like cutting off their own arms. Colonel Yixta nodded in agreement. The intelligence reports confirm it, sir. Human society is built around protecting their own. They've spent 50 years preparing for this moment. Every ship, every weapon, every tactical plan, it's all focused on getting their people back. Major Plick looked up from his logistics reports. Admiral, there's something else. Our economic analysts have been studying human resource allocation for the past 50 years. They've spent 80% of their entire civilization's resources on military development and intelligence gathering. 80%? Vestran couldn't believe it. That's impossible. No species can sustain that kind of military spending. Humans can, sir. They've essentially turned their entire civilization into a war machine. Every factory, every research facility, every educational institution, they're all focused on one goal: getting strong enough to take on the galaxy. Vestron sat down heavily in his command chair. In 90 years of military service, he had learned to recognize when an enemy was truly dangerous. The signs were all there: advanced technology, tactical superiority, absolute dedication to their cause, and most importantly, nothing left to lose. Colonel Yixta, he said quietly, in your professional opinion, can we defeat them? The intelligence officer was quiet for a long moment, studying the tactical displays and resource reports scattered across the table. Sir, she finally said, I think we're asking the wrong question. What do you mean? The question isn't whether we can defeat them. The question is whether we want to fight a species that has spent 50 years preparing for total war against the entire galaxy. Vesitron looked at the star map showing human ship positions spreading across known space like an infection. Each red dot represented a vessel crewed by beings who had been raised from birth, knowing that their purpose was to rescue their stolen family members. For the first time in his long military career, Admiral Vesitran began to seriously consider the possibility that the Galactic Defense Force might lose a war. The humans weren't just coming for their people. They were coming to reshape the galaxy according to their own ideas of justice. And they had the weapons to do it. The diplomatic meeting was held on Neutral Station, a massive space platform that had hosted peace negotiations for over 1,000 years. Representatives from the Galactic Council, the Zefki Consortium, and humanity gathered in the Great Conference Hall, surrounded by the symbols of galactic unity and cooperation. Captain Chen sat across from Consul Morgan, with High Counselor Velshan acting as mediator. The air in the room was thick with tension. Everyone knew this might be the last chance to avoid a war that could tear the galaxy apart. The consortium has prepared a generous offer, Morgan announced, activating a holographic display. We are willing to return 50,000 human prisoners as a gesture of goodwill. In exchange, humanity will withdraw its fleet and agree to standard galactic arbitration for any remaining disputes. Chen didn't even look at the display. All of them, she said simply. Captain, you must be reasonable, High Counselor Velshan said. 50,000 people is a significant number. All of them, Chen repeated. 200,000 people were taken. 200,000 people will be returned. Morgan's 4 eyes glittered with anger. Many of the original prisoners have died over the past 50 years. Others have been integrated into galactic society. They have new lives, new families. It would be cruel to uproot them now. Show me, Chen said. I beg your pardon? Show me these happy integrated prisoners. Let me talk to them myself. Morgan hesitated, then activated another display. The image showed a group of humans working in what appeared to be a pleasant factory setting. They wore clean uniforms and seemed to be operating advanced machinery. As you can see, these humans are productive members of consortium society, Morgan said. They have been given purpose and meaning. Chen studied the image carefully. Dr. Martinez, sitting beside her, was running scans with a small device. "Interesting," Martinez said quietly. "These humans show signs of extensive genetic modification and neural conditioning." "Medical care," Morgan said quickly. "We improve their physical capabilities and help them adapt to galactic technology." "You brainwashed them," Chen said, her voice deadly calm. "You erased their memories and turned them into slaves." "We gave them better lives." Chen stood up slowly. When she spoke, her voice carried the cold fury of a species that had just seen their worst fears confirmed. "Consul Morgan, you just made a very serious mistake." "What mistake?" "You showed me what you did to our people." Chen activated her own communicator. "Admiral Torres, execute Protocol 7. From somewhere in space around the station, Admiral Torres' voice crackled through the speakers. "Protocol 7 confirmed, Captain. All units are moving to attack. Positions." High Counselor Vel Shan looked panicked. "Captain Chen, surely we can continue negotiations." "No," Chen said, gathering her papers. "The time for talking is over." She turned to face Morgan directly. "Consul, you have exactly 1 hour to begin releasing our people. If you refuse, we will come and take them." "You're bluffing," Morgan said, but sweat was visible on his scaled forehead. "Even your advanced ships cannot fight the entire galaxy." Chen smiled, and for the first time, there was something genuinely frightening in her expression. "Consul, you really don't understand humans at all, do you?" The communication ended, and Chen walked out of the conference room, followed by her team. Behind them, the representatives of hundreds of worlds began arguing frantically about what to do next. On the bridge of the Indomitable, Admiral Torres was coordinating the largest military operation in human history. Display screens showed the positions of human ships throughout the galaxy, each one moving toward its assigned target. "Status report," Captain Chen said as she entered the bridge. "All units are in position," Torres replied. "Operation Homecoming is ready to begin." Chen looked at the tactical display. Red markers showed human fleets surrounding 57 different star systems simultaneously. Each fleet was positioned to attack Zefki holdings, military bases, and government centers all at the same time. "Captain," Dr. Martinez called from the science station, "I'm detecting massive fleet movements from the consortium's allies. They're mobilizing to defend Zefki space." "How many ships?" "Approximately 4,000 vessels, ma'am. They outnumber us 3-1. Chen nodded calmly. "Torres, signal all units. Begin the demonstration." Across the galaxy, human ships began their coordinated attack. But instead of firing weapons, they did something far more terrifying. The first target was a Zefki military base orbiting the planet Cathara. A single human cruiser approached the base, which was defended by 6 powerful battleships and a network of orbital weapons platforms. The human ship simply flew straight through the defensive fleet. It wasn't using stealth technology or shields. The ship was somehow shifting its physical properties, allowing it to pass through solid matter like a ghost. The Zefki weapons fired uselessly as the human vessel materialized inside their base's main hangar. What happened next was broadcast live across the galaxy. Human soldiers in powered armor poured out of the ship, moving with inhuman speed and coordination. They didn't kill anyone, but they disabled every weapon, destroyed every computer, and captured every officer in the base within 12 minutes. Similar scenes played out across dozens of systems. Human ships would appear inside supposedly impregnable defenses, deploy soldiers who moved like force of nature, and systematically capture or destroy military targets without suffering a single casualty. The message was clear: nowhere was safe from human reach. Admiral Kortek of the Veltar Imperial Navy watched the reports coming in from across the galaxy and felt his confidence crumble. His fleet had been racing to defend a Zefki colony world when human ships appeared directly in front of them. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "the human vessels are hailing us." On screen, a human face appeared on the display. The being looked young, but its eyes held the hardness of an experienced warrior. "Admiral Cortec, I am Commander Williams of the human fleet. You have 30 seconds to change course and withdraw from this system." "This is Sovereign Consortium space," Cortec replied. "I have every right to be here." "You have 20 seconds. Young human, you are facing the Veltar Imperial Fleet. We have fought and won battles for 1,000 years. 10 seconds. Cortec felt anger rise in his chest. "You dare threaten me with a handful of crude ships?" "Time's up," Williams said calmly. The human ships didn't fire conventional weapons. Instead, they released some kind of energy field that passed through the Veltar vessels like a wave of invisible force. Every single system on every Imperial ship shut down simultaneously. Engines died, weapons powered off, life support stopped working. In less than 10 seconds, one of the galaxy's most powerful fleets was reduced to helpless metal drifting in space. "This is your only warning," Williams said as emergency power came back online. "Humanity has no quarrel with the Veltar Empire, but we will destroy anyone who stands between us and our people." The human ships vanished as quickly as they had appeared, leaving Admiral Cortex staring at his dead fleet and wondering how his 1,000-year military tradition had become obsolete in the span of a single encounter. Back on neutral station, High Counselor Velshan was receiving reports from across the galaxy. In 6 hours, human forces had demonstrated their ability to strike anywhere, defeat any defense, and shut down any opposition. They had done it all without killing a single person. Consul Morgan sat in stunned silence as the reports came in. Military bases captured, government centers occupied, trade routes shut down. The consortium's power structure was collapsing in real time. "Captain Chen," Velshan said when the human delegation returned to the conference room, "your demonstration has made your point, but surely some compromise is possible." Chen sat down at the negotiating table and folded her hands, calmly. "High Counselor, we told you exactly what we wanted. Our people returned safely. Justice for those responsible. Reparations for 50 years of slavery. And now? Now you've seen what happens when you say no to humanity." She gestured to the displays showing the chaos across consortium space. "This is us being polite. This is us following your diplomatic protocols and giving you a chance to do the right thing." Chen leaned forward, and her voice became deadly serious. "Consul Morgan, you have 12 hours to begin releasing our people. If you refuse, we stop being polite." The war for humanity's stolen children had begun, and from the looks of the first day's results, it was going to be very short. 6 months after the Battle of Morden, the galaxy had learned to live with a new reality. The humans had not just won their war against the Zefki Consortium, they had rewritten the rules of galactic civilization in the process. Admiral Vestran stood on the observation deck of his flagship, looking out at the massive human battleship that now held permanent station above the Galactic Council homeworld. The Indomitable floated in space like a metal mountain, its guns pointed toward the planet's surface, in a reminder that could not be ignored. "Admiral," his aide Lieutenant Kixel said quietly, "the council session is about to begin." Vestran nodded and made his way to the shuttle bay. As head of the reformed Galactic Defense Force, he was required to attend the monthly briefings where humanity reported on their ongoing justice operations throughout the galaxy. The council chambers had changed dramatically since Captain Chen's first appearance 6 months ago. The elegant circular design remained the same, but now every representative sat under the watchful gaze of human observers positioned around the room. They didn't carry visible weapons, but everyone knew that these ordinary-looking beings could disable the entire station's defenses within minutes if they chose to. "The session will come to order," announced Admiral Chen, who now held the position of Galactic Security Coordinator. The title was new, created specifically for her, and came with powers that made most traditional politicians nervous. "First item," Chen continued, "status report on Consortium war crimes trials." The holographic display activated, showing a courtroom on the former Consortium capital world. Consul Morgan sat in the defendant's chair, looking far older than he had 6 months ago. "The trial of former Consul Morgan continues," reported Dr. Martinez, who now served as Chief Justice for what humans called the accountability process. Evidence presented this week included testimony from 47 rescued human prisoners, documenting systematic torture, forced genetic modification, and memory erasure. "What is the expected outcome?" asked Counselor Pixara from the Trade Guild. "Based on galactic law and human legal precedent, life imprisonment," Martinez replied. "The defendant's own records provided most of the evidence we needed." Vestran watched the proceedings with mixed feelings. The humans had been absolutely methodical in their pursuit of justice. They had captured every consortium official involved in the raids, gathered overwhelming evidence of wrongdoing, and conducted trials that were fair by any galactic standard. The problem was that the trials were also terrifying. Human justice was thorough, impartial, and completely inflexible. When humans decided someone was guilty, that person stayed guilty forever. "Second item," Chen continued, "prisoner repatriation status." A new display showed medical facilities that had been built throughout human space. The technology visible in the images was unlike anything in the galactic database. "We have successfully recovered 198,412 human prisoners," reported Dr. Kim, the head of Human Medical Services. "Of these, 87% have undergone successful treatment for genetic modifications and memory conditioning." "Treatment?" asked Counselor Yilsara nervously. "The consortium's modifications to our people were extensive," Dr. Kim explained. "Genetic changes to make them more compliant, neural conditioning to erase memories of Earth, hormonal adjustments to reduce aggressive behavior. We've had to essentially rebuild these people from the genetic level up." "Is such rebuilding even possible?" Vestran asked. Dr. Kim smiled, and there was pride in her expression. "Admiral, humans are very good at fixing things that other people break. We've developed regenerative medicine that can reverse genetic damage, neural therapy that can restore lost memories, and psychological treatment that can heal 50 years of trauma." "How long does the process take?" "For most patients, about 18 months. They need time to remember who they were before the consortium took them, but the results have been remarkable." The display showed before and after images of rescued humans. The before pictures showed people who looked beaten down, their eyes empty and lifeless. The after pictures showed the same people, but they looked fully alive again, with bright eyes and genuine smiles. "Many of our recovered people have asked to join the military," Dr. Kim added. "They want to help with ongoing rescue operations." "Third item," Chen said, "galactic security assessment." Admiral Torres took over the presentation, and the atmosphere in the chamber became noticeably more tense. Everyone knew that Torres was responsible for human military operations throughout the galaxy. "Current status: human fleets maintain security patrol routes through 417 star systems," Torres announced. "We have identified and shut down illegal slavery operations on 23 worlds, disbanded 4 separate piracy organizations, and established peaceful contact with 6 previously unknown species." The display showed a map of the galaxy with human patrol routes marked in blue. The coverage was extensive, reaching into regions that the Galactic Council had never effectively controlled. "Admiral Torres," Counselor Veltek asked carefully, "are these patrol operations permanent?" That depends, Torres replied. As long as galactic law enforcement remains ineffective, humans will continue to provide security services. And when law enforcement becomes effective? Torres's expression didn't change. When the galaxy proves it can protect the innocent? Without human intervention, we'll be happy to reduce our presence. Vestron understood the unspoken message. The humans had taken on the role of galactic police, and they intended to keep that role until they were satisfied that justice could function without them. Fourth item, Chen said, new council membership applications. This was the part that made traditional politicians most uncomfortable. Since humanity's arrival, 17 different species had applied to join the Galactic Council under human sponsorship. These were mostly primitive worlds that had previously been ignored or exploited by more advanced civilizations. The Kethani Republic has completed its development program, reported Engineer Park, who oversaw human technological assistance projects. They now have functional democracy, advanced manufacturing capabilities, and defensive weapons sufficient to protect their sovereignty. Defensive weapons? Counselor Brental asked nervously. Nothing capable of offensive operations, Park assured him, but enough to make sure no one can raid their colonies for slaves. The message was clear. Humanity was building allies throughout the galaxy, and those allies were being armed with advanced technology. Final item, Chen said. General announcements. She stood up and looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of representatives from hundreds of different worlds. 6 months ago, humanity came to this council seeking justice for our stolen people. What we found was a galaxy where might made right, where the strong preyed on the weak, and where laws existed only to protect those with power. Her voice became harder. That galaxy no longer exists. The display showed images from across known space. Human ships protecting trade routes, human medical teams providing aid to disaster victims, human engineers building infrastructure on underdeveloped worlds. Humanity has taken responsibility for galactic security because no one else would. We've established laws that apply equally to all species because the old laws were meaningless. We've created justice systems that actually pursue justice because the old systems only protected the powerful. Chen paused and looked directly at the section where former consortium allies sat. Some of you resent these changes. You miss the days when you could exploit weaker species without consequences. You're angry that humans have disrupted your profitable arrangements. Her expression became ice-cold. Your anger is irrelevant. The galaxy belongs to all sentient beings, not just those strong enough to take what they want. That principle is now enforced by human weapons and human determination. She gestured toward the observation windows, where the Indomitable was visible, in the distance. Every human ship in space carries a simple message. We remember our children, we remember our friends, and we never forget our enemies. Choose wisely which category you want to be in. As the session ended and representatives began filing out of the chamber, Vezatran remained in his seat, thinking about how completely everything had changed. The humans had won more than a war for their stolen people. They had become the dominant power in the galaxy, not through conquest, but through sheer determination to create a universe where justice actually meant something. Looking at Admiral Chen as she spoke quietly with her staff, Vestran realized that the humans had never really been fighting for revenge. They had been fighting for the future, a future where no species would ever again suffer what humanity had endured. Whether the galaxy liked it or not, that future had arrived, and it was enforced by beings who had proven that they would cross the entire universe to protect their own. As his shuttle departed the station, Vestran could see human ships patrolling the system, their blue engines glowing like stars against the darkness of space. They were no longer visitors to the galaxy. They were its guardians, and they were here to stay.